February 25th, 2022, a little known game called Elden Ring releases, developed by one man. Hidetaka Miyazaki, the modern day Doofenshmirtz, drained so dry mentally and physically by years of development he ran out of the time and budget needed to properly model everyone's shoes, and also forgot to program a multiplayer system that doesn't make me want to willingly eat thousands of avocado pits. After years of being thought of as nothing more than a cryptid hand in hand with the Chupacabra and the Wendigo and George Clooney, From Software finally dropped a myth brought to life, and millions died from the shock. I didn't get it day one though because I'm a fake gamer. Though okay, to be fair to myself, it was also mostly because I missed the Elden Ring hype due to the fact that my only experience with Dark Souls as a series up until this point was this video. That's not to say I wasn't interested in the game at all. I mean, it looked like this. In a time where I was more or less addicted to open world games like George R. R. Martin is addicted to doing literally anything other than finishing A Song of Ice and Fire. I finally picked up the game about a year after launch when I got lucky and Gabe Newell slid me a 50% off coupon, which really got the neurons in my brain neuroning, and before I knew it I was in the lands between. And then I never finished it, again because I'm a fake gamer. But now I'm here, again, and with the DLC coming sooner than later, that means I've got to hurry up and beat this thing so I can play that, and hopefully in the meanwhile Miyazaki will finally stop throwing bricks at my house.
'Tis only the flame quivering at misguided ash.
I'll be honest, I'm very interested in this little shoe conundrum we've got going on here, maybe a little more than the actual ring quest itself. I don't know, it seems a bit Amogos? To have so many bare feet, Miyazaki. Couldn't help but notice a theme after I played through this and went back in time to do a little Dark Souls 1-ing. First we got Guinevere, feet out of sight and out of mind, somewhat bit more distracting things elsewhere. Then there was Priscilla, a bit more obvious, and a few more between then and now, but none so blatant as Elden Ring. Our boy has grown bold. Or at least I assume he has. I don't really know the guy besides my vague Shabriri grape-induced fever dreams. And every once in a while when I see him peeking through my blinds. But it seems as this series has progressed and the games have grown larger, the more the gap between feet covered in shoes versus bare has grown. The open world has seemingly opened in numerous doors while also resulting in the removal of numerous shoes in the process. How deep does it go? But that's a question for later. For now, Limgrave, eh?
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless. Maidenless runt.
Without a finger maiden of my own, I cannot level up, which is a bit of an issue, slightly. How can a level 1 tarnished possibly become the Elden Lord? Oh, like that I guess. Okay. Let me rephrase that. How can a level 1 skin donkey possibly do such a thing?
I bequeath to you, but you, I am afraid, are maidenless.
Okay, so unlike my trip to Bulgaria, this time picking up the mail-order bride was much easier, and for once I was not the one getting mail-ordered. In fact, she came to me, which no woman has ever done in the history of the universe for obvious reasons. I am a well-documented psychopath and I need professional help. All she wants in return for her help is for us to piggyback her all the way to the Erdtree, the same place we're already going, so it works out well. To actually get to the Erdtree though, I'm gonna need some levels so I don't violently die. In honor of my first playthrough and the incredibly unique build I utilized there, I'm gonna go with a build inspired by it, something yet unseen by the entire community. I'm pumping strength. Well, now what do we do? So I'll kill Margit, right? Don't worry, you didn't miss much this place. Small potatoes. Except for when it randomly isn't. And now that I think about it, never mind, I lied. There was this one thing that happened. You see, I was doing a little investigating as I said I would, and during my travels as I liberated people from this earth, I asked a few people some questions, gave them a bit of an interview. Interesting results all around.
Hey!
But eventually my investigation led me here to the bottom of this ruin, and riddle me this. Is it the time period, or is it a stylistic thing? Throughout history, back before civilization was even civilization, people still wore shoes, and obviously this place is not one of hunters and gatherers. There are castles and actual settlements, so either the technology of this planet is strangely behind in the apparel department, or it's purposeful. Tarnished, on the other hand, whole different story, thankfully. Compared to the supply out there in the world, shoes are plentiful at the Round Table. But back in the frontier, take this ruin, for example. In the basement is a mad pumpkin head, little piggies proudly on display. This is no smoking gun, though. The lack of shoes makes sense in this regard, as the pumpkin heads are more or less gladiators, not exactly the highest of rank in society. I'll give it a pass. But upon defeating him and opening the door he was defending, you're met with Selin, an exile from the magical academy of Lucaria, who is missing her shoes. Perhaps it's a comfort thing. Who am I to judge whether or not someone wears shoes in the privacy of their own abode? But alas, I saw no proof of them anywhere. I would imagine those in the highest echelons of learning would neglect something as essential as shoes unless Selin, being in exile, had her shoes forcefully removed upon being cast out. I would think they would be very important for someone to wear, especially when dealing with glintstone, which I would imagine would be like stepping on glass or very sharp Lego. I will have to investigate further at the academy itself. Which brings us back to him again. I killed Margit easily, actually, which very much surprised me. I had to go and check to make sure the carbon monoxide levels in my house hadn't accidentally decreased to a safe amount. He has definitely given myself and a lot of other Tarnished a few problems over the years. I personally have fought him countless times over countless characters of whom I played for less than 20 hours. Because remember, I'm a fake gamer. And up until this point, finishing the game was written into the code of the universe to be an impossibility for me. But I had fun with those characters and the variety of builds I tried out and then abandoned faster than I abandoned my 12 children in Czechoslovakia in 1998. Yes, I know it dissolved in 93, I just don't know which one I left them in. That's not the important part. Even with all my experience against this wannabe Lovecraftian Gandalf figure, when he lifts that stick overhead without fail, I say, "Oh shit! Roll, 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 roll!" It's honestly astounding. I'm always surprised by my lack of brain function. But being on the ground this time was definitely only tactical though, because it gave me a front row seat to part of my investigation. That, right there, enhance. The trail grows warmer. Our first major boss, not a shard bearer, not yet at least, but a major boss nonetheless. Feet bare. But with that done, the path to the castle ahead was now clear. Except no, it wasn't. It was about as clear as the sky during the apex of a hurricane, maybe. But nonetheless, with my enhanced Elden muscles and sword in hand, I powered through it and made it to Godric's front door, where he was currently trying to LARP as some sort of lord of all that is golden, which I think is kind of hard to do when everyone in the actual Golden Order and even outside of it thinks you're a loser, and you have a guard solely for the fact that everyone thinks you're the weakest guy, so they're actively trying to stop you from getting your ass kicked, like before when Melania did the same as I'm about to do and bent you over her knee, and then locked you up in your own castle as the corpse of Godwin slowly turned into a fish in your basement. Godwin, who may or may not be your father, or your grandfather, or something. The lore is very deep, and full of similar sounding names. Wonder where I've heard that one before. George. Taking him out was a piece of cake. Never mind, bit of a Christmas miracle for Godric there. Too bad I respawned. 2 major bosses down and a great rune gained, and now I had access to Liurnia of the Lakes, where my investigation would continue, at the gates of Lucaria. Liurnia, though, despite being so utterly breathtaking and beautiful I had to hook myself up to a ventilator, is a land of conspiracy. You heard it here first. The government is lying to you. John Elden Ring is lying to you. Big Ring wants you to think these are just crawfish. They're not. They're America's tits in disguise. That's just but one example. There's so much more going on here beneath the surface of this very, very shallow lake. The so-called Turtle Pope, which is obviously just a dog. The Eye of Sauron, which is just the Eye of Sauron. Upside down buildings. The lake, which is only ankle deep and called lakes when there's only one. I almost started to call Miyazaki a liar and a fraud unless George came up with this, which in that case George would be a liar and a fraud and should never name things again. But I think he already lost that right when he came up with Dick on Manwoody and the Muppet Tullies and Uthar Shet and Pisswater Bend and Zero Zone Daxos and Dick Crab. But then I realized mid-rant, the Lake of Rod is under Liurnia. Liurnia of the Lakes. Miyazaki and George are playing 4D chess and now I feel silly. I had started to lose it, and I wasn't even in Caelid or Dragon Barrel or near any Scarlet Rot. Is Miyazaki dripping actual real-life Scarlet Rot into my house like that one vault in Fallout that slowly let in radiation? Renala, seeing how I waltzed into Godric's place about 2.5 minutes ago, has seemingly learned a thing or two about home security. The door is locked, and while the first time around this would have involved a little thing called Google, I happen to already know where the key is and took care of it rather easily, though it did take about 20 entire years. And there we go, we're inside what is objectively the most beautiful place I've ever seen with my eyes, barring of course myself in the mirror. Just kidding, last time I did that my reflection somehow gave me pink eye. But until we get to the Erdtree, this place is number 1 on the pretty list. My eyes really enjoy looking at it. I definitely enjoy the barrage of sorcery from these old heads far less, but at least when I'm getting pummeled by a constant stream of blue foreign objects I can at least admire the elegance of it all. Even if I'm slowly accruing brain damage like I accrue debt with the IRS. But wait, I suspected it, but I didn't want to believe. The lack of shoes on Selin was not a choice or a result of banishment, but due to a lack of them entirely. Has inflation gone so awry that academia can no longer afford shoes? These stones cannot possibly be warm enough to be comfortable. Things are not looking good. I made my way beyond the zombies, carefully avoiding them so as not to be drained dry. It's far less kinky and fun than the typical vampire shtick, probably because they're not vampires. Ahead was a mini-boss of sorts, an alabaster lord, wearing exactly what you would expect on his feet, which is nothing at all. But at least he has an excuse since he's an ancient being from outer space like Star Wars. And only Star Wars. Just as George Lucas says they don't have underwear in space, here they must not have shoes either. Once I made it past the debate parlor where Radahn so kindly left the dog in the divorce settlement, and beyond the ball, I reached the elevator and the final door. Beyond it lies the 8th wonder of the Elden world, modeled by Miyazaki himself, first from marble, born of hammer and chisel, then cast in bronze before being immortalized here, digitally, at the vertex of the Academy. I knew what awaited me inside, but still, I definitely, wink wink, loathed to see it, wink wink, for it to be proven true, wink wink. Renala of the Full Moon, aesthetically quite possibly one of the most beautiful fights in the game. She has one trick up her sleeve, and if you get hit by that, have fun running back, nerd. No stakes of America here, all my carrion homies hate America. But if you manage to dodge it, which is pretty easy, then well, just avoid the ghosts and... And there it is, another piece of damning evidence, another shard bearer, lacking shoes, my smoking gun, but one bullet is not enough. I need the magazine, the armory, the depot. The path ahead to the Erdtree is north, up the grand lift, or around the bend through the secret exit guarded by Makar, who I killed just to prove I could. And then I took the elevator up just to prove I could do that too, but I felt unfulfilled, so I turned around and kinda pondered for a moment. Too many stones left unturned, far too much land uncovered to truly understand how much feet are uncovered. The modern media would have me expedite my investigation so that I could fill the spot of 8 episodes on Netflix, but I say nay. I'll take as many as I wish. We're turning this car around back into the depths of Liurnia. Alright, so get your checklist out real quick. The lobsters don't have shoes, but then again they are lobsters, but neither does the grafted scion, which is inside this one lobster as a second phase for some reason, and those definitely aren't all hands. That just doesn't make sense. Monkeys don't walk on their hands, they walk on their hands and feet. Don't get me started on bears, or sloths, or koalas, or tigers. You can't have 4 legs, impossible. Tony the tiger doesn't have 4 legs. He very obviously has 2 legs and 2 arms. Point proven. Ronnie has kind of the opposite of that four-legged problem. 4 arms, 2 legs. Shoes, though, right on her feet, surprisingly. I guess making her a doll was enough for his sick kicks. You win this time, Miyazaki. There was a strange-looking man I tried to interview in this village, but he just sent his dogs after me, which was very rude. But he was probably trying to cover up for the fact that these Albinaurics all forgot their shoes at home. There's another Albinauric, very different from these. I don't know if it's like a Gen 1 versus Gen 2 synth sort of thing. I mean, I know that's the case with the frog-looking Chads, but between her and them, are they the same generation, or is this like another case of the anime juice? Is this the Albinauric Melina? I'm simping regardless. Okay, so there wasn't actually as much to find here as I thought, but the ratio between covered feet and uncovered feet is a bit unbalanced, and my shoes are scared. How long until they start to disappear like the Albinauric's legs? Alright, we gotta speed this up before Miyazaki snaps my shoes like Thanos. Welcome to Altus, ladies and gentlemen. Just kidding, I'm taking a detour real quick. I've never actually been to Mount Gelmir, well that's kind of a lie. I've never really spent time in Mount Gelmir, more like. I didn't even get the map fragment last time I played, but this time I want to see the big snake man. And besides that, I have an ulterior motive. Fashion Souls is kind of essential to the Souls experience. There comes a time in every person's playthrough where mismatching armor based on stats is pushed behind the more important question. Does this thing have a cape or not? Besides it being a cape, which is by default the most cool fantasy apparel you can possibly wear, every good investigator has their getup, and mine is currently hiding in the capital, locked up behind a contract, which I received easily enough. To get it, you either have to do a lot of contracts in order, or do a few contracts and then sneak ahead of the line and get the super secret special contract from Burndall, who has interesting shoes. Which is what I did once I reached the manor. Just an itty bitty problem before that though. See, normally all you have to do to get to the manor is talk to Raya and Liurnia, get her ring back from the strongest character in the game, then get an invitation from her, yada yada yada. But the problem is, I could not find her. I don't know if something triggers her to spawn or if I'm just a moron, but even though I knew she was in one of these gazebos, I couldn't find her. So I looked it up just to make sure. Even though, again, I know for a fact she spawns in one of the gazebos, but like, I don't know, maybe it's suddenly a Mandela effect thing. But no, it says it right there, and even then, still couldn't find her. She's not in this one, she's not in this one. I don't think she's in this one or this one either. Maybe I had an aneurysm and forgot I didn't check one, or maybe Miyazaki's in my walls whispering in my ears, making me slowly lose my mind. Or maybe he knows I'm on the trail close to finding something and he wishes to impede my progress through any means necessary. And there we have it, the Volcano Manor ruled over by the Lady Tanith, who proves to all she does not follow that of the Golden Order simply by wearing these. Or perhaps it's a ruse meant to throw me off the scent of something greater. So I sniffed them. I kept on. I dug deeper, and once I got my special Raging Wolf contract, I headed into the mount itself. It's like a rated R Bowser's Castle, which is neat, okay? But no one here has shoes on. And I don't care if that's because they're snakes with arms and legs. Raya is a snake with arms and legs, but also shoes. But also she's glamored to look human, so maybe you guys get a pass. They don't really eat my sword, but they're not really dying fast either. I might be underleveled, which does not bode well, but I kept on. Mostly avoiding them when I could, as well as this random Black Flame user, which really hurts if he hits you, but I trounced him. I embarrassed him. His career as a heretic is over. I made sure to let down the bridge so I didn't have to do an entire Rhea, whatever, Lucaria inspired run back when whatever is in this church inevitably murders me. Ow. Right guard, yeah, is this right guard on the line? Yeah, so I'm gonna have to rain check on this meeting of ours. There's a very rude man at the front door blocking me. Yeah, you know him? Yeah, well, until you can figure out your own employee situation, I think I'm gonna go kill your brother instead. Yeah, that's what he is. Look, I'm really sorry about this. I know how you feel about the F word. I'll see you soon. Yeah, Rykard. I'm gonna hang up now.
Very well. I do not fear death.
Caelid. This is not required for me at all, actually, seeing as I already have 2 great runes, which is all you need to get into the capital, but I cannot allow my investigation to be impeded in any shape or form, and not being allowed further into Mount Gelmir is an affront to my journalistic integrity, and I am offended. But it would also seem that I am a weak baby boy, and Radahn here, big baby boy that he is, has 70,000 runes to offer me, which I could really use. Some would call summoning cowardly, but me, I'm a much more free thinker. If you want to cuddle up to a mimic tier knight, who am I to stop you? But personally, I don't use them because they can somewhat ease a bit of the boss fights in this game, and I like feeling like I accomplished something on my own every once in a while, because I rarely accomplish anything. And besides, I think summons fit this fight more than any other in the game. It's almost the gimmick. This is a fight for the ages. The fellowship must form, the band of the hawk must come together, and the Eldingers must assemble to give our fellow strength brother a worthy send-off. It has nothing to do with the fact that my brain simply cannot comprehend Radahn's attacks and therefore just will not allow me to dodge. Nothing at all. And so my AI friends and I fought him time and time again, and it was beautiful even when I was getting pummeled into the ground by arrows and more arrows and big swords and a big man and a meteorite that was actually still just a big man. I don't know how much more I can hammer home the fact that I physically cannot dodge his attacks without just showing you. Seriously, it's like my brain is usually running on a Generac Protector QS Series 48 kilowatt automatic standby generator, but as soon as I click yes on the portal, my brain switches to the backup generator, which is just like the small generator from Fallout 4 that generates 3 entire powers. If I had to fight pre-patch Radahn, I think the tumor in my brain would finally expand until my head became the Hindenburg, but luckily defeating post-patch Radahn is within my unskilled grasp, though I will admit I started to lose my mind a bit, which is very lore accurate for this place, but I persevered, and before Radahn turned to dust in the wind, I looked up and saw that Radahn has no shoes. But that's only because he has no feet. Nice save, Miyazaki, but I've got my eyes on you. 70,000 runes turned purely into strength and vigor, added with a small break, cleared my mind enough for me to once again try my hand at the Michelin Man. And honestly, I can say this without a doubt, is the first fight in this game, in this playthrough, or the last, that actually had me nearing a heart attack. I felt a bit like a coked up 80s nightclub owner. I was sweating, I was shaking, and then I killed him and I instantly passed out and woke up the next day in a ditch. I've never felt such relief in a game. I had to go outside and go for a walk and just take in the breeze and the feeling of the grass and the smell of the summer air while drinking some ice cold lemonade, and I felt like a new man. And then I kept going. That was my mistake. See, I thought the Godskin was the hard part because from what I had heard about Mr. Rykard, his fight is apparently trivialized by the gimmick weapon. But it turns out if you don't spam it and stun lock him, it is somewhat difficult, or perhaps it's just a skill issue. Probably that. But okay, to be fair, I probably could have beat him if I just stun locked him repeatedly. Which I did eventually start doing, but I wanted to not do that. I should have just done that. I was foiled by level geometry a few times, but usually it was my own incompetence that tripped me up and allowed these skulls to demolish me, though I will admit I was somewhat mesmerized by them. Okay, that's a bajillion billion Ghost Riders, man. That's so freaking epic, dude. Hell yeah, brother. They don't make things like that no more, man. Rykard knew a lot about family, and being a snake, and acts of blasphemy. I will remember him and his cave for the rest of my life, but the pain, I tell you, the pain I will carry with me for an eternity. I killed him, and I left forever. I could probably no-hit his entire boss fight if I went back now, but that's not even a flex, it's hardly even a humble brag. I was masking the pain as I ran through those halls and out into the sulfuric air of the mountain, heading as fast as I could towards the plateau. But once I got over the fact that Tanith had started eating Rykard like I was hosting a Louisiana barbecue, I pulled out the board and marked off another name. Rykard, no shoes. He's a snake, no feet. It was a hollow victory. Miyazaki mocking me from the heavens. No shoes, yet no feet either. I could only wonder at what I would come across in the capital. My trek to the city was far from peaceful, but are we really surprised? The environment is beautiful, but everything else sucks. Welcome to the Balkans. You can hardly walk anywhere here without— oh joy, there's a dragon. What, did I walk over the border into Skyrim again? Hey, you. Why are you here? Of all places. It's in the lore, isn't it? It's in the lore. Can you read the wiki article out to me, please? I'm a bit busy hacking at your shins. Hey, where are your shoes? It was only moments after that I was walking to the front door so I could kindly be let in so I could take my place as Elden Lord, but I was rudely interrupted by a normal-sized old man who started talking to me in a very familiar voice, who then turned into a large-sized old man who was not just some random old man, but Margit, cosplaying as my friend Randy. Thanks, Miyazaki, you're a real funny guy. Making bosses into regular enemies? Hilarious. Hilarious, I say. Don't look at me like that. Oh, and after that, well, turns out the front door is locked. Hospitality really went downhill after the shattering, I guess. But it's alright, there's a side door. I killed the Draconic Sentinel guarding it easily enough, though his friends, the Golems, managed to nail me with every single shot of theirs before that. A bit embarrassing. Then an Erdtree avatar hopped down on the road like he was some random state trooper with nothing better to do than run a speed trap in the middle of the boonies, but I took care of him, like, super easily. I stopped by the real OG round table to turn my burn doll contract into some physical merchandise by borrowing the Raging Wolf set from Vargrim's corpse. And with that, I was finally the lore-accurate canon tarnished, and so I turned my sights to the Erdtree above me. The end zone was right there around the corner. I made my way up the branches, or roots, or whatever these are supposed to be, killing the scattered guardians in my way. Most of them, at least. There was one fellow who was quite unbothered by my attempted murdering of him. He was far too busy pondering the finer things in life, I guess, so I let him be. Inside the building ahead, I was accosted by the ghost of Godfrey, another famed strength main, who gave me a good thrashing, and I just ate up every hit, distracted by the fact he had actual shoes on. Perhaps there was hope after all. He's kind of a pushover though, so I took care of him easily enough. And I kept on through Marika's bedroom, which leads to the foot of the Erdtree where the Demigod's Council also is, which seems a bit strange. Does everyone have to trail through Marika's bedroom on the way to a council meeting? Okay. Kind of the least of our worries though. There's a man waiting for us. Ominously.
Who else but Margit?
Margit is here again to see if there's really such a thing as lucky number 3. He failed in Stormvale and he failed in the outskirts. Now it was time for him to finally shine, to prove to Mommy Marika he had what it took to be a paladin of the Golden Order. But he didn't take into account my pocket waifu Melina. She's absolutely cracked at this game. I had brought her to the foot of the Erdtree as was our accord, and she wiped the floor with Margit, though here he was going by his mysterious alias, Morgott. Or is it the other way around? I honestly felt a little bad. Even the last of all kings with his cool dex sword could not hope to stand to the Japanese powerhouse that is ANIME. Lady. Like Godric, for whatever reason, Morgott also turned into a raisin upon death, though in this case it probably had more to do with the omen curse than the curse of just being Godric. I'm sure it's in the lore. I tried to enter the K jeweler's house in the Erdtree to get my Elden Ring, but the front door was locked, and it seemed there was no key. Keys can't open thorns. There's no keyhole. It would seem I was in need of fire.
The flame of ruin, far above the clouds, upon the snowy mountain tops of the giants.
Magic fire. Fire which apparently burns beyond the capital in the snowy lands of the north, the mountaintops of the giants, unexplored by myself. This is actually as far as I ever got. Beyond this point, beyond the capital, would be new, unknown lands for me to corrupt with my very big, tarnished muscles. They're not average. They're above average, like every other strength main. Unless average is 3 inches, I hear that's pretty big. No stop, no sleep till Elden Lord. It's time to head up the lift and into the snowy beyond.